Today, we are going to practice two things: the expression to be on the same page and offering advice with would. To be on the same page means to share the same vision or to be in agreement about basic things. Here's an example. Lucy and Mark had a disagreement about how to achieve the goal. They both want to achieve the same goal, but they disagree on how to achieve it. They don't share the same vision. In other words, they are not on the same page on how to achieve the goal. They have different visions. We're also going to practice using the word would to give advice. Let's make a how should get on the same page question. How should they? How should they get on? Get on the. How should they get on the same page? How should they share the same vision? How can they arrive at that agreement of sharing the same vision? How should they get on the same page? How should they get on the same page regarding the way to reach the goal? Regarding the way to reach the goal. How should they get on the same page regarding the way to reach the goal? Let's give advice using should. They should have a meeting. They should have a meeting. They should have a meeting to get on the same page. Okay, well, if you use advice using, if you give advice using should, you're saying, I think this is the best idea. This is the best way to do it. Let's change this advice and use would. Now, to do this, we have to change the subject to he or she or I or someone else. I would have a meeting. I would have a meeting. To get on the same page, I would have a meeting. This is advice also. They should have a meeting. I would have a meeting. We change the subject because would is a word for imagining different things, imagining different situations. In giving advice, we're imagining a different person with the same problem. In this example, me. In my case, I would have a meeting. If I had this problem, I would have a meeting. Maybe John would find a different partner. He wouldn't try to get on the same page. Maybe Mary would work alone. She wouldn't try. So we're talking about different people in the same situation. What do they do? This is what I do. I would have a meeting. When giving advice, we use should to say, this is the best idea. This is the great solution, in my opinion. When we use would, we have to imagine a different person having the same problem. To get on the same page, I would have a meeting. Welcome to the Professor English podcast, where we don't just talk about English, we practice English. My name is Ryan, and I am your host, and today we are going to practice English by using the phrase be on the same page or get on the same page, and using the word would to give advice. This is a listening and a speaking exercise. So, if you want to improve your English listening, your English speaking, and your accuracy, while also improving your vocabulary, in other words, the whole enchilada, you have found the right video. There are no long explanations in this video. It's just practice. Practice listening and practice speaking. So, if you're not clear about how to use this expression, don't worry. By the end of the video, the idea will be very clear. So be sure and watch until the end. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that if you prefer some visual help with this exercise, you can always see the video version on my YouTube channel, Professor English ESL Class. Now, let's dive in and start practicing English. Here is a situation. Mary represents a company. She is meeting with a client. During their conversation, she discovers there is a misunderstanding about the conditions of their agreement. Wow, that's a pretty long situation. We can use not on the same page here to mean they interpret the agreement differently. They see it differently. They don't share the same vision about the agreement. Mary and the client have different ideas about what is in the agreement. They are not on the same page. They look at the same agreement, but they see two different things. They do not share the same vision about this agreement. They are not on the same page regarding the agreement. They are not on the same page regarding the agreement. Let's make a what should do question. What should? What should Mary? What should she? What should she do? What should she do regarding this problem? Here is the answer. Make her position clear. She should. She should make her position clear. When giving advice, we can use would, but we'll have to change the subject to a different person. Let's use I. I would. I would make my position clear. I don't know about Mary. I don't know what she does, but in my case, when I have this problem, I make my position clear. Would is a word for imagining things. Most of the time when we use would, we are imagining an if or a but situation. I would make my position clear. Here we are imagining something like, if I had her problem. It isn't my problem really, it's her problem. But in her situation, I would make myself clear. If we were not on the same page regarding the agreement, I would make my position clear. If we weren't on the same page regarding the agreement, I would make myself clear. I'd make myself clear. I'd make myself clear. I don't know about her. I don't know what she does. But in my case, in that situation, I'd make myself clear. That's the imaginary part here. All right, fantastic job. Let's try another example. During the meeting, Mike discovers that his goals are very different from John's goals. Let's use be on the same page here, meaning they have to have the same goals or the same vision. They have to share the same vision about this. They should be on the same page. They should be on the same page. Let's make a what should do question about the goals. What should they do? What should they? What should they do? What should they do regarding the goals? Here is the answer. Be sure they have the same or similar goals. Let's use the word aligned. Aligned goals. Aligned goals. That's a good vocabulary word for you. Aligned. They should be sure to have aligned goals. They should go together in the same line. If they're not on the same page regarding the goals, they should be sure to have aligned goals. We can use would here to give the same advice, but we will have to change the subject of the sentence. Let's change the subject to Mary. Mary would be sure to have aligned goals. She would be sure. She'd be sure. She'd be sure to have aligned goals. So if Mary had this situation, if Mary had this problem, she'd be sure to have aligned goals. You don't have to say the if part. We understand it. Mary would be sure to have aligned goals. We understand the other part. If she were not on the same page regarding the goals, she'd be sure. She would be sure. She'd be sure to have aligned goals. All right, you're doing a super duper job. Let's try another example. But before we do, I just want to remind you that if you find these exercises helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel, Professor English ESL Class, so that you won't miss the next lesson. And if you are watching this video on YouTube, please take a moment to press the like button. It helps my channel so much and lets me know that you want to see more fluency and listening comprehension exercises just like this one. Now let's keep practicing English. Here is another situation. The company has recently changed procedures, but many people are confused about the correct procedures. Let's make a summary of this situation with be on the same page. Everyone should be. Everyone should be on the. Everyone should be on the same page. Everyone should be on the same page regarding the new policies. There shouldn't be any difference in interpretation. Everyone's understanding should be the same. They should all have the same vision about this. Everyone should be on the same page regarding the new policies. Let's make a what should do question. What should? What should everyone? What should everyone do? What should they do? What should they do to be on the same page? What should they do to be on the same page? What should they do to be? What should they do to be? What should they do to be? What should they do to be on the? 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 What should they do to be on the same page? Here is the answer. Have a meeting to clarify the new procedures. Have a meeting to clarify. Have a meeting. Have a meeting to clarify the new procedures. They should have a meeting. They should have a meeting. They should have a meeting to clarify the new procedures. We can give advice another way. We can use would, but in order to give advice using would, we have to use a different subject. Let's use John. John would. John would have a meeting. I don't know about you. I don't know about everyone else, but I do know John would have a meeting. John would have a meeting to clarify the procedures. He would have a meeting to clarify the procedures. By using would, we're imagining John in this situation and how he would act. If everyone were not on the same page, he'd have a meeting. He'd have a meeting to clarify the procedures. If everyone weren't on the same page, he'd have a meeting to clarify the procedures. That's what he would do. I don't know about you. I don't know about everyone else. But I know about John. John would have a meeting. All right, you did an amazing job today, and you learned some fantastic English. Congratulations. I knew you could do it. Remember that practice makes perfect, so you should repeat this exercise several times, not just so that you can remember how to use these words and phrases, but also to improve your listening and your speaking skills. It's been really fun practicing English with you today, and I hope to see you again real soon. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to press the like button. See you in the next video with more interesting words and phrases.